I'm Gab, he's Jules. Blue skies over West London. Jules, this is it. Euro 2024 kicks off on Friday. This is our Euro 2024 high-level bird's eye view preview. We're going to rattle through all the groups. We'll try to be as efficient as we can, give you a flavor in case you haven't paid attention to Romania at all.
Exactly.
As some people may have.
Yeah.
Let's start Group A, which is Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. Obviously, Germany hosting the Euros. They were way down on Nagelsmann. They were all grumpy sort of 6 months ago. I kind of feel, well, there's still some questions, especially at the back. Let's face it, Rudiger aside, and left back, Henriks. I think they're picking up a little. They're like, hey, look, we're at home. We can do this. We have some good players.
Yeah, it's looking better. Certainly the last few results, well, the March international break, they did really well because they beat the Dutch and they beat the French, and the French quite convincingly too in France. That was really good with great performances from Musiala and Wirtz in the two inside 10.
Which they'll be doing again.
You would expect. We kind of know that team pretty much.
The best on earth will be up front.
Kai Havertz will be up front, yeah. Maybe there's a bit of tension. There was a Rudiger Fulkrug little fight at training yesterday, which I think did acquire a lot of headlines. And I'm still not too convinced by İlkay Gundogan's position as a 10, which means that Wirtz and Musiala have to be, as we said, like 10s that play a bit wider and have to come inside. Because I'm not sure that works. But the game changer is Toni Kroos coming back for this competition, for sure.
I know we always say this, but international football different. You don't have time to work on things to find the right tactical balance. You kind of have to do it on the fly. The other clear favorites in the group, I'm not going to bother asking you. For a second, I know you're probably not what you want to hear. I kind of have Switzerland here. The thinking being is they often go far in tournaments. Murat Yakin has been there a while. It's one of those national teams that feel it's a little more like a club team. There's so many veterans proven. Remo Freuler, Xhaka, Shaqiri. And then up front, you've got two speedy guys in Okafor and Breel Mbolo. And if they show up, maybe? No?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Mbolo hasn't played for like 95% of the season because of his ACL injury.
So he's well rested now, but he's back.
Yeah, but, not sure that's ideal either. Okafor hasn't played much for Milan too. Vargas is a really good player. I just wonder if the lack of a proper goal scorer could hint. Maybe not. I think they will go through.
We have them going
through. They'll finish second or third. There's no doubt. But after that, maybe a little bit more. Scotland have a similar problem. They don't have a finisher. They don't have a 9. Dykes is injured.
And also, it's Lyndon Dykes who's injured, not Robert Lewandowski.
Still, they will have Conway and Shankland, and that's not great. But they could be strong in midfield. Certainly, defensively, they've conceded 21 goals in the last 9 games. So
Hungary this time around. I mean, they surprised us in the past. This time around, they do feel a little bit there for the ride. Other than Dominic Szoboszlai, obviously they'll be relying on all those guys dressed in black behind the goal to cheer on the team. But no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. It's Scotland and Switzerland for me for second place, with Switzerland favored. Group B, Croatia, Italy, Albania, and Spain. You're not allowed to say G of D because we don't like that because that's stupid. Like that.
It's the toughest group with the French
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom here because Albania, we love Silvino, we love Zabaleta.
Yeah.
I just don't really see the talent there. You never look past them. Okay, don't look past them, but the other 3 teams are stronger.
Yeah,
okay.
Massively. But I don't think it'd be easy to face Albania at all.
Let's talk defending champions here. I've talked about them endlessly. How do you see them?
I'm not too confident. I won't lie, and you won't like hearing that. I'm not too optimistic. I think...
Why? It vindicates what I believe.
Well, we don't know about Barella's fitness to start with, and I think a team without Barella is a very different team than the one with Barella, even if Fratesi scored a really good goal the other night, the winning goal. I thought they were not very good the other night. I thought Donnarumma had to make 2 really good saves. And 0-0. Defensively, I'm not sure how strong they are or how strong they can be. So I think there's still enough talent in that team to certainly qualify for the knockout session and then see and maybe be difficult to play against.
I think they're very solid defensively. My issue, of course, as I mentioned before, is up front where Scamacca, can he get the consistency, and can Chiesa actually be fit? Beyond that, you're in a world of Zaccanis and Retegis, and that's not a place you want to be. Spain, there's so much talent, but then it was I was telling myself, maybe I'm just trying to reassure myself, okay, there's a lot of talent, but Morata hasn't scored much in the last 6 months. Beyond that, it's Joselu. At the back, you've got the French imports, Lenormand and Laporte, and the old guy, Nacho. I don't know. Midfield, even the midfield, which seems so scary, once you get past Rodri and Pedri, I might. Still they're better than Italy's midfielder, but
but still very good. No, I don't know. I like.
I think they'll win the group, but I'm saying is they're not. They can't take anything for granted.
No, my question mark is really over De La Fuente. I'm not sure. And again, in this tournament, they are either the very experienced head coaches like Martinez, like Deschamps, like Southgate, and then the ones like who might have been great at club level, Nagelsmann, Spalletti. And then people like De La Fuente, you don't know how all of them are going to react. They've never been to a tournament like this before. Okay, Spain and De La Fuente have won the Nations League, but it's not a tournament like this. How do they...
I think, hasn't he won stuff at under 21? Like,
I'm talking like,
Yeah, he's a federation, man. It's
exactly.
a different...
So you don't know. So for me, De La Fuente, more than anything else, is the problem, or potentially can be the problem. But Lamine Yamal at right winger and Nico Williams at left winger, I'm all for it.
All right. Could be tournament too soon for them. Possibly. Maybe not. Croatia, those guys they never go away. I know Mandzukic is gone, fine, but they have Budimir, who's kind of like an off-brand Mandzukic up front. In the midfield, it's the Braz, it's Kovacic, it's Pasalic, it's that man Luka Modric. They don't. I mean, we bigged them up as a tournament team, and it would be a tremendous story. For my money, they can easily trip up Italy or Spain, or maybe even both.
They will qualify second or third. They have that kind of experience that is so important. And again, their manager, Dalic, is so important, so experienced. And we saw against Portugal when they beat them how good they could play too. So, and if they would like to go to penalties, there would be a pain like that to play against.
All right. Who do we have going through? Spain, Italy, and Croatia. Do you want to pick the order?
Top three. I'll go Spain first, then Croatia, then Italy.
That sounds about right to me. Group C, England, Serbia, Denmark, and Slovenia. We did a big thing on England on Monday's podcast. Again, are you going to tell me that Southgate is a better person than he is a manager?
Exactly. Yeah, thank you very much.
And the question marks inevitably are at the back, are with his tactical choices.
Yeah.
Whether Palmer and Foden, do they play as wingers? Do they play inside? Bukayo Saka, how do the pieces fit? It's all the old stuff we've been saying for a long time.
Yeah, and all the top teams, from Germany to France to Spain to Croatia to Italy to the others, we know pretty much the starting 11 for their first game, right? Maybe there's one, there could be him or him. For England, he doesn't know himself. And I don't understand your few days before their first game and he doesn't know.
I'm okay with that, actually. But then again, I'm not an England fan. The good news is I think they're going to win the group because the rest of it, not particularly impressive.
No.
Serbia, you have a ton of big names. So
Great
much
talent.
Mitrovic and Vlahovic up front, Tadic and Milinkovic-Savic in behind. And you have Samardžić.
Yeah.
And yet, they rarely add up to the sum of their parts.
Yeah, they never qualify for the knockout stages.
The past, I don't think, is relevant to the present. They are the second most talented team in the group.
Yeah.
I think by a country mile. I would not take it for granted that they'll finish second. But then again, I look at Denmark, and a bunch of experienced workman-like defenders, not much creativity, a lot of weight on Rasmus Højlund, and Eriksen, frankly, still in there.
Yeah, still in there. I don't know. I thought they looked okay in the two friendlies. I like Skov Olsen, who I think will have a big part to play because you're right, the creativity can only come from the two wide players. Not Eriksen, really, apart from set pieces. Not Højbjerg, not a player like that. We'll see. Again, we go back to experience for them, which I think is very important. Simon Kjær at the back, Schmeichel, etc., etc. Will it be enough? Maybe to qualify for the knockouts. After that, I think they'd be too short.
We need to mention Slovenia as well. Matthias Kek, he has one of the best goalkeepers around and one of the most coveted strikers around. Those are Jan Oblak and Benjamin Sesko. In between, not much going on. We've got, again, I want to put words in your mind, but it's England to win the group and then Serbia and Denmark to battle out for the other two.
Potentially a third finish that qualifies.
And a lot of that will, of course, for those who don't know, the third place finishers all go into a pot, and whoever has the most points the 4 teams with the most points end up
Out of the
qualifying.
6.
All right, Jules, here we go. Group D. We're continuing our previews here. You're so smiley.
The group,
France,
really. The group.
Oh, yes. Austria, Poland. And you're mad, Ronald Koeman. So France, Holland, Austria, and Poland.
Yeah.
I'm going to start on France because you're asked about France all the time. You're telling me if I'm right or wrong. This is the most talented side. It is the most complete side. It has possibly the most defensive conservative manager of any of the top teams. But that's okay. He won a World Cup, reached a World Cup final, playing that way.
Yeah.
We know all the stars. We know all the players. I do have some question marks. I think he makes some questionable individual choices. He can't questionably pick Lucas Hernandez because he's injured again, which might be a bit of a blessing in disguise, I think, from that perspective. But I see too much Upamecano in this team with the season he had and not enough Saliba. Yeah. And also, the Mbappe at center forward, part of me says, why do we have to experiment with this when you had a formula at the World Cup that worked with Giroud at center forward and Mbappe wide?
Because Giroud can't start anymore. And we saw that against Canada. He played 60-odd minutes, and it's just not. I think now is the moment where you see that.
He just played a whole season and played really well.
But this is not international level. This is not Euros. He's not. I don't think he's really. I don't think he could start at the Euros. As much as I love him and as much as I would love him to, no. Right. We saw that against Canada. So you could put Thuram central and Kylian on the left, but that means Kylian will still have to defend. And Deschamps doesn't want him to do that. He doesn't want to do that. So you put him central and you just build everything around him and for him. Deschamps said the other day, the closest he is to the goal, the better it is for us. So we want to keep him up there. Not left, not right, not deeper, just right there and get him the ball. So Griezmann is going to play closer to him. Thuram on the left and Dembélé on the right.
Keep him right there with 80 players around him, and we'll see how well he does and how much he gets kicked.
With
Holland and your man, the Dutch guy, Koeman.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I think it's a big blow for Koopmeiners, although sometimes I wonder with Koeman, with some of his options, like Koopmeiners, like Zirkzee, I wonder if he knows who they are, frankly, because they're not right under his nose.
even, it was not picked.
Yeah,
now he's back, so it's fine.
So what gets me about this is they have good defenders. We can just debate how they fit together. I think they have decent midfielders, Timmy Simons, Reinders. But then up front, it's still the same Gakpo and...
Yeah, and Memphis and
Is
Malen.
he trust Memphis?
Really.
Antonio Malen, yeah. Nothing to write home about there, yeah?
No, and Weghorst on the bench, coming as a sub. He scored against Iceland on Monday night. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there's still enough talent in that team to...
Are they guaranteed to finish second in the group?
They will go through.
You think you're that confident? Is it just because of the talent gap with Austria and Poland?
I think it's a good team. It's a really good team. I've watched the last 2 games. I was quite, to be fair, quite impressed by some of the things they do. Even with the Dutch guys as a coach, they build with the 3. Gakpo plays left wing back. Dumfries plays right wing back. There's a lot of movement. De Jong missing the Euros is big. Koopmeiners missing the Euros is big. But I think they've got loads of talent.
Austria, Ralf Rangnick, the pressing machine. Obviously, David Alaba is going to be there. I looked at this, and it is one of those things. This is a blue-collar team. There isn't much in the way of quality on this Austria side and you're still relying on Marko Arnautovic up front and working hard. I think it's really hard to get out of a group when you're like that. Poland, there is more talent, as I view it. They just haven't played well in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what condition Robert Lewandowski's in.
He picked up an injury on Monday night. They lost Milik. They've lost Szywiecki as well, who replaced him. So decimated with injuries. I prefer the Austrian squad than the Polish squad, to be fair. I think there's more talent for Austria than there is for Poland.
I think this is one group where maybe the third place team does not get through.
Maybe.
We have France and Holland first and second, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Group E. Belgium, Ukraine, Slovakia, and Romania. I was talking about Belgium. My man Tedesco, one of... I don't know if we can claim him as Italian, but one of 4 Italian managers at the Euros. It's the old story with Belgium. You got wonderful talent up front. Depends how fit De Bruyne is, what he can give you, but you still have Doku and Lukaku, and in midfield, I know Openda in midfield, Tielemans, Onana as well, I haven't mentioned the Prince, Charles de Ketelaere.
Yeah.
But at the back, man, Vertonghen, I'm assuming Witsel might play back there.
Yeah, that's why he's back. He had retired from international
They're literally
football.
72 years old between them.
Yeah,
And they're not Bonucci
exactly.
and Chiellini, with all
No,
due respect.
and there's obviously no Courtois behind them, which is the most controversial call here. Really, the only thing that we should focus on is why the fight between Tedesco and Courtois. Why is he not there when he's the best goalkeeper in the world? When he's proved his fitness now and plays the last 5 games of the season, it's mad. I think that
It seems so petty.
terrible.
And you know who I feel bad? I feel bad for De Bruyne here because this could be his last major tournament. And to be deprived of such a top teammate as a result, when a tournament that Belgium, I think, could win, they'd be in the conversation with Courtois.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Ukraine, this is another team where I was looking through the players again. There is a lot of talent there. Dovbyk, the kid Sudakov, who everybody talks about. There's like the Trubin, the keeper. Zabarny, maybe he wasn't that good this year, but we know is a good, is a really good
Zinchenko.
defender. Yeah,
Mudryk.
Zinchenko. Some people like Mudryk too.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't come together for Rebrov. Can it come together in this tournament, considering that the other 2 teams in the group are nothing to write home about?
Yeah. So yeah, they would qualify because behind Belgium, they're the best, way ahead of Slovakia and Romania. But it's after that, and every time you see them play, they play deep, they play quite defensively. I don't know why they just get this approach instead of trying to play. They've got enough good players to play a different style of football, and yet they never do.
Slovakia, good news is there's an Italian coach.
Again,
Bad
yeah.
news is he did really badly when he took over and Napoli did both jobs. In a lot of previews, a lot of people saying, like, oh, Skriniar is their best player. That's funny. I thought Skriniar had retired 18 months ago.
Oh,
no, wait.
that's
He pretends to play for Paris Saint-Germain.
He does, yeah.
There's nothing, there's very little there. Lobotka in midfield, but he's got nobody to pass to.
Yeah.
It's tough for them. Romania, similar story. They're going to defend a lot. Quality, Yanis Hadji, Dennis Mann sound like good
there's a
ideas
few,
who haven't lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
This is another one of those where Belgium first, Ukraine second, and tough for the third place team to go.
Yeah, I don't think the third place in Group E will qualify at all.
Takes us on to Group F, where you have Portugal. Let's start with them because I think they're heavy favorites.
Yeah.
Roberto Martinez, or Martinez as Augie calls him, has got some calls to make, obviously, on the 2 golden oldies, Pepe and somebody named Cristiano Ronaldo. It looks like Cristiano Ronaldo will start. Pepe, I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think so either.
They're stacked everywhere. The question mark is, I think the wing backs, though, the way he plays, if it is Cancelo and it is Nuno Mendes, are they going to be vulnerable defensively? When you consider
maybe.
also that in midfield, he's shoehorned Bruno into the midfield as well.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what he does. It looks like Cancelo and Nuno Mendes will start, and Ruben Dias, and then Ignacio Silva more than Pep, I think. And then, that midfield, Palhinha, Bruno Fernandes, and then Bernardo Silva or Vitinha, but then that means you play Bernardo wide, which I'm not sure that works. What do you do with Leao? Is he a super sub? Is he starting? But then Joao Felix is also there.
If you could start with 18 players, Portugal would be
the best. But they're still among the favourites for me.
Yeah.
I think they could be fantastic. I'm just not sure with Martinez, considering the failures he had with Belgium. The times where he didn't make it with Belgium, when really we all thought this could be the tournament. So that lack of winning mentality maybe could be a problem. But they really should easily.
They can bring
qualify
back Fernando Santos just to give an inspirational speech. Maybe on
Imagine.
FaceTime. Turkey with another wise choice and hiring an Italian keeper, the little airplane, Vincenzo Montella, an Italian coach even. There's talent there. Çalhanoğlu, I think, can dominate games if he's fit and happy. And they've got the rising stars, Kenan Yildiz and Arda Güler. Maybe this tournament is a little too early for them.
Well, they've got a great generation coming through.
Up front,
this is great for them.
In terms of center forward, maybe a little bit like when it's Tosun, when it's Yazici, some people like that, right?
Yeah, Kilsoy is the really good young player, though. He's lit up the league this season. I think he's scored 15 goals in the league. So that generation is great. This is maybe a bit early for them, for the younger ones especially, but they will learn a lot from it.
The Czech Republic, it's amazing after what happened with their coach Solhavi, of course, resigning after they qualified, sending players home, accusing them of partying before a big game.
Soufal is watching.
Soufal, yeah. Yeah. They have Patrick Schick, who can turn it on his day. There's Souček. This is not a good unit, and yet they're probably not the worst team in the group.
I think it is a good unit. That's the thing. I think they will be a very strong collective, but not much
But there's
quality.
no individuals.
Yeah, exactly. But they will remember for the last Euros, they did well and with a similar squad.
Comes down to them and Georgia. Georgia, another one of those teams, maybe a little bit like like Slovenia. You have an outstanding goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You have an outstanding guy in the hole in Kricek Kvaratskhelia. And you have a coach who you really like, Willy Sagnol.
Yeah.
And there's not much else.
No.
That's just why they're the lowest ranked team in the FIFA ranking.
Mikotadze, the Met striker who's done really well in
But the guy who used to be at Ajax.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The last 6 months has been great for him.
Right.
We start from Kvaratskhelia, we see.
We got Portugal and Turkey going through here.
Yeah, but I want Georgia to finish in the best third.
Center forwards. Most club sides now play one up front.
Mm-hmm.
I think most teams in the tournament, I haven't been through it. I mean, some might play two. I'd love to see Mitrovic and Vlahovic up front for Serbia, just to scare the opposition.
I don't think so.
But it's an interesting one, and you can almost evaluate the teams in some ways through the center forward. And if we're going to do that, let's start with the guy who was the joint top goal scorer at the last Euros. One of the greatest center forwards, one of the greatest goal scorers in history. Mm-hmm. Patrick Schick. No, just kidding. The other guy who was joint scorer with Patrick. We can talk about Patrick Schick too if you like. Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, look, so much has been said about him. He's 39 years old. He's like 52, 53 goals this season in Saudi. And look, you can say, it's a Saudi league. Yeah, okay. It's still a ton of goals. You want to cut those in half? It's 26 goals. Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a lot of goals at his age. There was some thinking, given the way he bowed out at the World Cup, where eventually he was dropped by Fernando Santos, and then when they're going out, he's brought on at the end for some sort of weirdo cameo, that Roberto Martinez might turn the page. He didn't. Roberto Martinez included not just Cristiano, but Pep as well. How do we read this?
I think it's easier to play Cristiano in a qualifier group, especially the one that Portugal were in, where he played almost all the games, scored loads. They won every single qualifier game that they played. It's a very different story. Maybe not so much at group stage level, because Czech Republic, Georgia, Turkey, Cristiano can do well, and Portugal will be dominant. I think it's a different story to then play him in the last 16 quarterfinal, semi-final, final. Can he play that? This Portugal team wants to press and press high. You cannot press right now with Cristiano Ronaldo. This is not what he does, and he's never really been a pressing machine. He's never really done that kind of running, and even less now at 39 years old. So for me, the question mark over more than maybe where you play Bernardo, who you do this, blah, blah, blah. It's more like what to do with Cristiano. And if Fernando Santos, who is like a father, like a second father to him, arrived at the decision to drop him for the good of the team, there's no reason why Roberto at some point might look at it and think, you know what, yeah, against Czech Republic, Georgia, Turkey, no problem. But now against France, I don't think so. And then drop him and play Gonzalo Ramos for an hour, and then Cristiano comes in for the last half hour, something like that. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on Gonzalo Ramos, but you're right. He would give you that effort. He is an unselfish player. Let's move to Germany now, because their center forward is a guy who, again, you know my thoughts on him. I think all these debates about proper goal scorer, proper center forwards are absolutely freaking idiotic, especially when it comes to him. But they've had it at Arsenal all year. They're saying, Arsenal should sign Ivan Toney. I'm talking about Kai Havertz, right? I think he has all the tools to be a center forward. He hasn't played his entire career at center forward. What I find interesting is the potential that they're going to have in their front line when, if you think of it in terms of a front four, you've got two creative, dribbly players who are going to start in wide positions, but really are number 10s in Wirtz and Musiala. Yeah. You've got Gundogan, who we think is going to play higher up the pitch, maybe not. But there is a lot of interplay potential there, a lot of 1-2s. And again, Havertz has the technical ability to do that.
Yeah, and I think for that it's perfect, for that fluidity, for what Nagelsmann wants. Nagelsmann, who is obviously his favorite system is the 4-2-2-2, which I think he would love to play in a way with that front four. Like you said, you can have 2 and 2, really. Is this enough to win these Euros when you play against very strong defenses, for example, when you maybe need more of a cutting edge than just 4 super creative guys? Because Kai Havertz is creative, Gundogan makes those runs, but he's also can bring creativity. Same with Wirtz and Musiala. Is it a bit too lightweight? I mean, and I know Füllkrug can play, but Füllkrug also needs crosses, which Kimmich and Mittelstadt, whoever plays on the left, is not going to provide. So they won't have that.
Right.
So I find that, again, we said earlier, Kroos is the game changer. Of course he is. There's no doubt. But that front four, like you said, would be very interesting to see, because if they don't click really together, then they will obviously have a problem.
And also Kroos, let's face it, he's older this season. He's played a lot this season with Real Madrid. Those big switches to Vinicius one way or Carvajal the other way or whatever, Germany don't have the players to do that either.
No.
You know?
And if you want Musiala and Wirtz to be there, then you lose a lot of what they're really
Of the
good at
width,
more
yeah.
centrally, yeah.
Croatia, we talked about sort of their center forward situation. Budimir scored a ton of goals.
Yeah,
for
you love
Osasuna.
Budimir.
Well, the way I look at it is the way Osasuna played last season. You know, he got limited service. He's got all these ballers behind him, and Lebras and Kova and Modric. Could he be a breakout where they just feed him?
Yeah, I think so. And to be fair, you also have the Kramaric option. If Budimir doesn't work out for whatever reason, Kramaric can certainly play central. He also had a good season in the Bundesliga, and you can find somebody else to play wide where Kramaric is going to play now, but more as a second striker than a proper winger. So I think Budimir, Kramaric could work. But again, it's not Mbappe, it's not Kane, it's not Cristiano.
Italy's center forward is Gianluca Scamacca, which I guess is good, because if Atalanta hadn't had that run late in the season, then I think Retegui would probably be starting up front, which again, nothing wrong with him, but it's a guy who scored 7 goals for Genoa. Was out half the season and naturalized, which is, again, fine, but kind of like cheating a little bit when people do that. It's funny because when he was 18, 19 years old, he was another one of those guys who was hailed as next big thing.
Yeah.
And then he kind of lost himself, and people like too many tattoos, to, you know, a family that's too involved in his life, thinks he's better than he is. I like the fact that he's playing regularly for a Champions League caliber team. In fact, Champions League team at this stage, a team that wins the Europa League. Has he turned the corner? Has he calmed down? Is the West Ham season behind him?
Yeah, maybe. I just think there's a bit of unpredictability now with Scamacca. And remember back in March, Spalletti was not happy with him because he said when he comes with the national team, he wants to play Call of Duty and the PlayStation all the time instead of focusing on the team and what to do on the pitch. So I'm not sure if the attitude is always right, but certainly the momentum and the confidence he would have had for the second half of the season with Atalanta, carrying into this tournament, really, that's a massive asset. The first half of his season was actually not that good. The second half was brilliant. So could he step up?
He has to. There's nobody else.
I know, but then this is a team that plays differently to Atalanta as well. And
very differently.
Very differently. So, I don't know. Will Scamacca depend a lot on Chiesa and Chiesa's service and Chiesa's creativity?
And Chiesa being on the pitch, which we don't know.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then I think we can be worried, because with Chiesa, again, we just never know what kind of Chiesa we will see anyway.
Yeah, it should, again, knock on wood, you don't want it to happen, but should Chiesa go down rather than getting lost into a mess of Zaccanis and Orsolinis, and I think that's when you play Pellegrini on the wing and suck it up there. Spain, Alvaro Morata, who, it's funny because he's one of those guys who he misses goals, he misses easy goals.
Yeah.
But then you look at the package, and he's tall, he's athletic,
He's got everything.
he's skillful, he's handsome.
He's quite quick as well.
He's very quick for
a big guy, yeah.
For a big guy at that stage of his career as well.
For sure.
I think he reads the game so well. He's such a great passer. There's an alternate history where Real Madrid never let him go.
Yeah.
And Morata, he
wins 5 Champions Leagues, 6 Champions Leagues, yeah.
Yeah. Beyond Morata, there isn't that much, but Morata is, I think, the perfect center forward if he converts to chances for the way Spain want to play, right?
Exactly.
More so than the other options.
Yeah, forget about tiki-taka and stuff. We don't really like to use that term, but people know it like that. that kind of football is gone now. Not certainly with De La Fuente, they're going to put crosses in for him from Lamine Yamal, from Nico Williams, from even the wide midfielders. I don't know, Dani Olmo or Fabian Ruiz or Pedri, whoever, and that's what they want for Morata. Is it the Morata from the first half of the season who was brilliant? And when we all thought, okay, finally maybe he found the consistency and he's going to score 40 goals in the season, and then in the second half of the season he disappeared. He disappeared in Champions League at the worst moment. He disappeared in the league as well when they really needed him and they had this really iffy end of the season. We don't know, but yeah, if he's on top, great. Otherwise, it's Oyarzabal, who is a very different type of striker,
And
not
not a
probably a
centre
striker
forward.
even. Yeah, they can play that.
England, I have Harry Kane.
Yeah, and Watkins and Tony.
Right, but we don't think he's ever going to play a front two
Why
unless
would
they're
you-
losing, right?
And why do you take 3 number 9s?
It's different
I think they're
profiles.
the only team.
I think he took them because he likes to have 26 players. Because if they go a goal down, or maybe depending on the opposition, should Kane get injured, he wants to have an option of 2 different profiles of players between Tony and Watkins. I don't have.
You know my issue with 26 players in your squad, yeah? Have I told you my issue?
Oh, well, you're gonna be like, there's too many.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very simple. And that's why I think a lot of them have taken 25. Like the Dutch are back to 25 now, like the French are 25. 26, you've got 3 goalkeepers. That's 23 outfield players, right? If you want to do drills by teams of 4 or 2, 23 is a problem. If you want to do practice game, 11 against 11, okay, this is not my explanation, it's Deschamps. You're clearly not happy with Deschamps.
I'm not a big fan of Deschamps, as you know.
How
I
can
think
you
half of
argue-
what he says is nonsense. So, look,
So,
if
hang on. So you've got 23 outfield players.
Yeah.
You want to play 11 aside.
Okay, so first of all, you don't play 11 aside. But second of all,
Who doesn't play 11
what?
aside?
Well,
All those teams- all
If
those
you only
teams
have
are
23, I'm sorry. If you have 23 players, right?
Yeah.
The perfect Deschamps size squad, right? What are you going to do? You're going to play. You're going to play 10 outfield players, and you're going to have your third goalkeeper just sitting. What you can do,
Yeah,
referee.
you've got 3 goalkeepers.
Okay. In the real world, during a tournament, there's always somebody who's getting treatment, who's training on their own, who's doing something else, right? Secondly, you're not always going to have a balance where you've got 2 right backs, 4 center backs, whatever.
No, it's
You're
just
gonna-
an extra player that you don't need. You've got 23.
you have more options to try different things. When you have a 23-man squad, when you're in training camps, you're always bringing in assistant coaches, young players who you have along for the ride to fill out on those occasions when you feel the need to do 11v11, which, by the way, as you know, most teams really don't do that often. So I don't see the point here. You know,
I think I can see the point massively. You don't need 23. There will be one. You do the drills where you've got teams of 4, teams of 2, or teams of 3. If you get 24, for example, and you've got one left out, why would you have a player left out? Why you have a team of 5 and teams of 4? Why a team of 4 and
there's
all
always
the other
players
teams of
left
3?
out because not
That's
everybody
true.
is fit
That is not
for
true.
every training
That
session.
is not true. You can't start a competition by thinking, oh, I need another player because somebody will be in the gym or with the doctor.
This is
This is not
degenerated into a conversation
No,
about
but it's true.
training
Like
techniques.
the 25 players makes far more sense than 26 in your squad for just a simple reason of numbers.
All right.
It's
Let's
true.
agree to disagree on that one.
So yeah, 3 strikers for England.
Harry Kane is a bit special, yeah?
Yeah.
I wonder, is it going to be a bit different? Again, I'm assuming Saka will start and Foden will be in the middle, and then maybe on the other side you'll have Palmer, I guess, or no,
Gordon on the left.
Anthony Gordon. He's ready to switch it up. The nice thing about Kane is he's so versatile and he's so intelligent that whether he plays as an out-and-out striker, waiting for service, whether he drops off, lets people run off him, he can do that. Slovenia, Sesko, just a word on him. We're also excited for him. They got to get him the ball, and this is the issue. This is going to be the issue for Slovenia.
Do you think it'd be
first
harsh if
instance.
we judge him on this competition, or we should? We should look.
I think you
we should
can
look at him.
You can judge his personality on this because it's completely different playing here than look.
Yeah.
He's played at what, Leipzig, and before that he was at Salzburg, right?
Yeah.
So he's playing for these uber dominant teams who've got 100 or just much better than the opposition all the time. He's got a billion players around him. This is going to be a very different experience for them. He will often be up there on his own, and I think it's a good test for him. France, we discussed earlier in the preview, you and Deschamps have decided that Olivier Giroud can't really be a starter. He's got to be a guy off the bench. And because Mbappe decided he won't defend for his country, even though, you know what, he's going to have to start defending a little bit with his new employers.
Yeah, I guess so.
That we're going to see Mbappe through the middle. Mbappe through the middle, we don't want to get anchored on sort of definitions and stuff like that and positions, especially when you have the kind of versatile players that France have. And it's not just Mbappe, it's Thuram if he's on, or Griezmann. These guys go and fill holes and adjust, and they adjust to the movements that their teammates do, like all intelligent people. But is the thinking that because France play on the counter so much, that all the time that they're sitting back, Mbappe's just going to sit on the shoulder of the last defender and just be the permanent outball? Is this how you want to use?
I mean, I don't
the
think
best
we will
player in the world?
defend. I don't think we will defend that much, but
Well, that's what you did in previous tournaments, right?
At the World Cup, the
Played
last World Cup,
a lot of playing on the counter.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think we're very good on the counter, but I mean, I don't know why other teams will let us play on the counter. But yeah, I just think in terms of balance of the team, if Kylian plays on the left-hand side, it's just not going to work in Deschamps' mind. So you play him central. We've seen it before already.
Does he like that? Does he like playing central?
Yeah, because really this is out of possession. With the ball, he can do whatever he wants. This is very much what Deschamps tells him. So do what you want, go where you were, go where you want to go, and then Thuram is going to adapt his position to where Kylian is. Dembele is going to stay on the right, and that's fine. Is that a problem? Maybe. Is it giving him too much? Maybe as well. But if
how does he feel about it? In the sense that I always wonder about this, right? Because I think sometimes it's also a bit unfair towards the most talented players, because everybody kind of worries about putting them in the best situations, and sometimes the most talented players can do more, right? And sometimes they do more.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's not a case of Mbappe saying, I'm Kylian Mbappe, I don't want to defend. I'm assuming in his mind it's a case of Kylian Mbappe saying, I bring more to the team if I'm fresh every time we regain possession, rather than if I'm chasing down some right back who I know is going to lose the ball.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. I really also think he doesn't want to defend. He doesn't really like it. He doesn't want to sprint and chase the ball everywhere. The counter pressing is not really his thing to a certain extent.
But he doesn't want to learn it. He doesn't want to make it part of his arsenal.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it. I mean, learning is pretty easy, but doing it, I don't think he's that keen, to be fair. And that's why the World Cup, for example, where he played left, out of possession, he would move central, so he didn't have to defend, he didn't have to do anything, and then the team would reorganize behind him to just be either 4-4-2 out of possession or 4-5-1 with him on his own there. And I just don't think it's ideal at this level. But again, he's the best player in the world, so I can understand why you just want to put him in the best environment and the best situation for him to score. If he scores 7 goals in this tournament, we will win it. So, I can see why, but it's, I think, very risky. It is very risky. For example, he's going to push Griezmann further up than what we saw at the World Cup, where he was really in the 3 in midfield, to play closer to Kylian, to be able to give Kylian even more support and even more service for Kylian to score. Great, I'm all for that. But then maybe you miss out a lot of what Griezmann could bring into midfield by playing him so high. So, we'll see.
Holland, you've got up front, we're not 100% sure who's going to start, in the sense that you've got options, you've got Depay, you've got Gakpo.
Yeah, I think Depay will start as a 9.
Depay not a traditional centre forward by any stretch, which is kind of, obviously Holland's had this whole kind of Dutch foundation myths about the wingers and everything. Now it's really more about the wing backs. Mm-hmm. It feels to me as if, Gakpo, if you put him up front, he can execute tactical movements. Depay, you have to accept that Depay and Memphis is going to roll around and do
what he wants. And sometimes he's going to be genius.
Koeman's good with that.
Yeah, I think Koeman loves him, and they have a really strong relationship, as we saw at the World Cup too. I'm all for a maverick player in there, because I think he can make you win games and win maybe and go far in this tournament. Do you need a bit more structure to his game at some point? Probably. I mean, even the white headband that he has now, which even Koeman is not too keen on. But let's say if he's allowed to keep it for the tournament.
For me, far be it to question it, but for me, Holland are built for a front two, with it by rolling around somebody else. The problem is the other
is Weghorst.
And then there's no Gakpo if you do it that way. Robert Lewandowski on Poland. I think he is one of the greatest strikers that we've seen. We are coming to an end. I'm assuming this will probably be his final tournament.
Yeah.
Although never say never. I kind of feel that he really hasn't had his tournament moment.
That's true.
It's not a great Poland team, but it's not a terrible Poland team either. I know they haven't done well over the last 18 months when they've played, but friendlies, qualifiers. You don't think they can step it up? And then does it impact Lewandowski? Does he have to?
I don't know. I just think if he hadn't done it at the peak of his career,
ain't gonna do it now.
It's not now. The season that he's had, he picked up an injury on Monday night, and we don't know how bad it is. There's a few big players in this team that are not there because of injuries too. Yeah, I really doubt he will have a good tournament.
Belgium stuck Romelu Lukaku because, again, every time I look at it, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm sure producer Freddie will, since he's making me wear an earpiece, will tell me in my ear in a second. But Romelu Lukaku's scoring record.
He's already on 70 goals or something.
It's just unbelievable.
Team. It's
right?
mad.
It's Messi, Cristiano-esque for a guy who is most definitely not Messi or Cristiano.
Yeah.
Again, this season, so was that 85, did you say, Freddie?
Yeah, 85 in how many caps? Like 101 caps
85
or something?
goals. 85 and 115. I mean, that's mad. And he's had a really good season in Rome. I think all competitions, it's more than 20 goals. It might even be 25 goals, something like that. He's got Doku feeding him, De Bruyne feeding him, De Ketelaere in there Trossard. Somewhere doing whatever, potentially Trossard, potentially Openda to take some of the... There is a lot there. Is there a risk when you got so much talent that because you have this giant man in the middle, he becomes the focus and the others don't play? Or if you're smart, can you actually play it to your advantage in the sense that people have to account for Lukaku? And he's shown that he can be a very unselfish center forward as well.
Yeah, completely. No, I think this is the idea. I think you go with him and you kind of follow him. And I think he could easily score a lot of goals in that group with Romania, Slovakia and Ukraine. It could be like 5 or 6 at the end of the group stage already and having that kind of momentum. I wouldn't be surprised if in the end he finishes top goal scorer, regardless of how far Belgium go or not. But you could see this is the kind of games where he scored, right? Of those 85 goals he scored already for Belgium, a lot of them are in those qualifiers, Nations League, etc., etc. Yet, as we saw in the last World Cup, he was in a very different place, obviously. Completely.
And he got on the end of all those chances, which is another thing that...
It's just the lack of efficiency.
Yeah. If he gets on the end of those chances this time around, I have to think he will convert them.
I agree with you.
And I think that's when Belgium can become really scary. I'm really curious to see what he can do in this World Cup.